This week's episode is brought to you by Bureau Veritas. At Bureau Veritas, each and every member of the team is by your side to help you navigate your decarbonization journey. This is Green Seas, the podcast by TradeWinds about the environment and the business of the ocean. I'm Eric Priante Martin, and today we're going to hear from the chief executive of one of Japan's and the world's biggest ship owners and operators about the course his company is plotting to a net zero future. This week, the TradeWinds team was in Tokyo for our annual forum in the Japanese capital. And our editor-in-chief, Julian Bray, sat down on the stage with Takeshi Hashimoto, the chief executive of shipping giant Mitsui OSK Lines, or MOL. The company has been busy on many fronts in shipping's green transition, although it remains heavily involved in the fossil fuel space. It has been working on developing ships to carry captured carbon, on wind-propelled vessels, and on methanol and hydrogen-fueled shipping. And that's just a few of its initiatives. And Hashimoto told Julian that the company wants to set a clear and achievable pathway to its goal of net zero greenhouse gas emissions by 2050, even if the details of how to get there aren't currently clear. And he said that's so its commitment is more than just propaganda. Julian will take the conversation from here.
Now for this next session, around 20 minutes or so, it's my great pleasure and honour to be joined by Takeshi Hashimoto, the CEO of Mitsui OSK Lines here. Now, as many of you know, Mitsui OSK Lines is one of the world's biggest and arguably most influential ship owners. At last count, over 800 ships, a global leader in LNG carriers, in car carriers, in a fleet of 150 tankers, almost disappears into the scale of the overall operation. And Hashimoto-san, in the 2.5 years he has held this role, has been driving a program of rapid change and renewal, which is fascinating to watch from outside. And in fact, Mr. Hashimoto, if I may say, we have something of a standing joke in our editorial office at the moment that runs as, so what has MOL done today? There is an announcement virtually every day of some significance, frankly, some initiative, some development program, a policy announcement, an investment. How are you managing this rate of change, and do you feel you're being successful so far?
Yeah, Julian, thank you very much. But I appreciate your word. Yes, it's quite the special time for us. Of course, quite many years we recognize that the world is rapidly changing, and then it's kind of a bit frustrated feeling among our organization that we are a little bit behind compared to the speed of the global change. Perhaps not very much in the shipping industry. However, if you look at other industries, the group, the world is changing very, very rapidly, and the more and more that the shipping industry like us are facing the difficulty to attract good, talented people to come and join us to work together. So that kind of the situation is a bit frustrated, and then due to that the quite fantastic financial results in past 2 and 3 years. Now our balance sheet dramatically improved, and there are so many things we really wanted to do, but in the past it was a bit difficult because of the resource issues, that the financial resource and human resource and the technical resources. But nowadays we feel that it's a time that to tackle with those things, and if we want, that we can do it. Perhaps it's one of the rare opportunities in decades in our industry. So that that we decided that to materialize as much as possible. That is the MOL as of today.
I'm fascinated to hear you say that because, as I mentioned in my opening remarks, many ship owners, most ship owners in fact, the buoyant markets of the last few years, that debt has been paid down, and many ship owners have almost more cash than they know what to do with. Many are giving back large amounts to their shareholders. Many are paying down debts. Relatively few, frankly, are making investments both in equipment, capital, and in operations that perhaps the challenges that today are required. Are you nervous about the capital spending that you are making in the context of that?
Yeah, of course that we have to be careful about the risk management, and every single investment will come together with some kind of the project risks and market risks and etc. However, that is not a normal thing for the business, and perhaps that nowadays that the people participated in the panel this afternoon pointed out that there are so many different options and the technical confusions, and so that it's a bit the difficult time for us to concentrate that what kind of the area will be that good part of the investment. I agree, but that because of that, I think that it will provide us that the quite unique and the interesting the opportunities that if we have the clearer idea than our competitors, then we can establish that our own position in the industry, and then to enhance it and to differentiate ourselves from others. Maybe we are not 100% correct, and so that perhaps that we will have some mistakes. But if we will try that 10 times and to get that good result, 7 or 8 out of 10, and it's to me it's the quite enough.
How have you changed the organization to make it able to take those decisions, to reinvent itself, to act quickly?
Yeah, that is the quite big challenge, to be honest. So that traditionally we are operating company, and the many number of our people are quite good operator of the business. However, that the changing that the portfolio, or changing that the organization, etc., is not our specialty. So that therefore that tell you the truth that because of the relatively rich the cash flow today, that we do not hesitate to spend the money for that the service that provided by the outside, the consulting service and the advisory services, and so many things. At the same time that we decided that to change that the basic attitude of the management team, including myself, that traveling around and to be the part of the forums and the conference and like this, so that try to exchange opinion and mingle with the people and the catch up with the European, the Americans, and also that need to understand what is really going on in emerging markets like India or South America, etc. So that all these activities requires the human resource and budget. So that I intentionally that give them the green light. Okay, now is the time for us to invest. So that of course this will not continue forever. However, but for coming 2-3 years will be the really that critical time.
So it's a moment of opportunity for you.
Yeah.
What are the key elements of the Blue Action Plan 2035 that you unveiled earlier this year?
Yeah, that the 2 or 3 ideas. Starting point is that rather negative, or how can I say that the crisis control type idea. One is that obviously that the environmental issues we really need to reduce our emission, and the Japanese government committed to reach is a net zero by 2050, and we as a company, MOL also committed to reach net zero by 2050 without knowing the detail of how to do it. But we really need to realize it, otherwise it will be just propaganda. So therefore that we need to set up that realistic, achievable, and achievable the time schedule how to achieve that net zero by 2050, and what to do in 2020s and 2030s and 2040s, etc. So that is definitely one of the very important drive for us to transform our organization. Another one is that the structural change of the global economy. From day one of MOL history, about 140 years ago, we established in Osaka, and then our main duty or main obligation is to provide the good service to Japanese industries, import and export, so that always the Japanese customers first. But that was our motto in majority of our history. However, obviously this globalization is that even the Japanese industries are moving out to quite many areas outside of Japan, and they also developed their own business in outside. The Toyota is a quite typical example. So that we also need to internationalized. So that it's quite difficult the organization and the people's mindset, and perhaps the portfolio of the human resources will be necessary. So that these environmental issues and the globalization together with them, that I recognize that we definitely need to transform our industry. Otherwise, it's very, very difficult to be sustainable in this industry.
Your colleague, Mr. Watanabe, earlier was very nimble at not committing to any particular engine, and ensuring that the clients come first, which is very good. But could I put this to you? I think many ship owners and some operators are struggling with exactly that issue. that how do they continue to survive and prosper commercially, even when some of their clients may have a rising awareness of environmental issues, compared with the costs of decarbonisation, which today exceed the immediate payback. You know, how do you answer that question today to your shareholders, even, that you are investing wisely?
Yeah, so that the bit difficult part, especially our shareholders, they need the quite solid return every quarter. So that I must explain to them that if we will just concentrate that the profit of this quarter, next quarter, the best way is continue to construct that standard type vessels, perhaps with the scrubber. However, that we will have a serious situation after 3 years, after 5 years, or perhaps after 10 years. We don't know. But we cannot continue to construct the scrubber type vessels forever. It is very, very clear. So that the COVID-19 gave us a quite good lesson. So that when it started, that all cargos vanished, and all of a sudden that the shipping market went down to the bottom. Then quickly started the recovery, and container market was typical that normally that the average price of the container is $1,000, $2,000 US, became that 8,000, 10,000. Still, our customers could manage to pay, because that the global supply chain shouldn't be stopped. Yeah. So that if necessary, my observation is that if necessary, global economy can afford to pay the additional cost. Of course, that it creates some pain. It's the $10,000 that the container market continued more than 1 year, and I admit that it created that quite a negative damage to the various industrial sectors. Yeah. I'm so sorry about that, but it was really. However, that point is that still that the global economy could manage to pay.
I think that is a fascinating point. And the costs, because when you think of the costs of the fuel transition, although they are quite high, they are nowhere near the costs that were accepted and paid during the lockdown. And even in some sectors, you could argue at the moment, such as car carriers, with the record rates, that isn't having a material slowdown impact on the global trade in cars. In fact, it's at record levels.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I must ask you of your view today on LNG. I mean, you are, of course, has been a pivotal figure in LNG shipping here in Japan as well as globally over the last 20 years. And as I mentioned in the introduction, your fleet is now nearly 100 ships, which is astonishing. LNG, though, I think faces two aspects that, in many ways, the world will be reliant on LNG, the way we are set, for the next 20 or 30 years at scale. Yeah. However, particularly growing in the last 2 years, there is an increasing criticism of the use of LNG, both for land-based power, but also other uses such as fuel in ships, that it is a greenhouse gas, that it isn't truly green, although the emissions are somewhat lower. This is partly tied up with methane, of course, and methane slip. Are you concerned by this pressure on LNG and criticism of it as a fuel, and that will drive redundancy perhaps in the fleet in the long term?
Yeah, that before and after that Ukraine war, I feel that some change of the people's feelings, that the reality is, as Julian quite correctly pointed out, that definitely that the global economy will continue to require natural gas. So that of course that it is ideal that to reduce the hydrogen, hydrocarbon consumption steadily. However, I think that especially in Asian market, we should concentrate how to reduce the coal consumption. And coal is quite important energy source in Asian markets. Not only the power production, but also the steel, iron and steel industries and cement industries, and quite many industries are using that huge volume of the coal, and producing the huge volume of the CO2 emission. So LNG can be the quite good alternative to coal. It is the reason why that we expect that the potentiality of the Asian LNG market will be bigger than rest of the world. And of course, that in addition to that, this Russian-Ukraine situation added some the political tension, and the world cannot continue to rely on the Russian pipeline gas, which means that even Europe will need to import LNG, at least for the time being, from Middle East or North America. So my analysis is that we definitely need the quite big volume of LNG for coming 20 years, or perhaps 30 years. We will see. It's quite depends on the combination of the various the different factors.
But of course, there will probably be new fuel markets growing in terms of CO2, hydrogen, ammonia. These are all markets that I'm sure you will be eager to be shipping.
Yes. So that as a business person, I do not want to miss the opportunities. So that we also focusing that the CCS, CCUS type technologies and the CO2 transportation will be that quite unique, and if it will fly, that it's a very unique and important sectors. If these CCS, CCUS type technologies can be economically, commercially viable, then it can reduce lots of the burden of the people in the world.
You have great ambitions, I know, for the Wind Challenger project that you developed yourselves. Are you surprised, in retrospect, that these sophisticated sails, if effectively they are sails, hadn't been developed previously and used? Was it just a block to the mindset that meant that they were people weren't really thinking of optimizing energy in that way?
Yeah, it's based on the assumption that if we can continue to use the fuel oil, then and the price of the oil is reasonably low. It's no point to do that the big hassle to use that to develop and materialize the wind power. However, nowadays there are our goal changed. That number one, we need to reduce emission. Number two, that the cost of the fuel became quite expensive compared to 10 years, 20 years ago. So these the combination. So the idea to use the window, it's not a new idea. It always existed in the market in past. However, the people didn't care the very big attention. So that in case of the Wind Challenger project, that we actually we supported the development of the designing and ideas quite many years, paying that relatively small budget every year, but the people did not believe very much. But nowadays the situation dramatically changed, and as my colleague Watanabe-san mentioned, that nowadays we should do everything what we can do. So that certainly that the Wind Challenger can reduce 5 to 8% of energy consumption. So it is now it is even economically viable. But 5 years ago, it's a good idea, but not economically viable.
Yeah. Finally, going back to this issue of the ambition that you need to have and the willingness to take risks, perhaps, what advice would you have to ship owners or operators who are either nervous or reticent about committing to changing their mindset, making investments, changing their operations today? How would you, what I don't expect you to tell them to do something, but what would you say is the most important thing for them to consider about the future?
Well, at some point of time, everybody should decide their own position. So that perhaps nowadays quite many people want to continue the kind of the wait and see attitude. It is understandable because still it's not very clear that the global trend, and so people do not want to choose the bad option. However, within 5 to 10 years time, definitely that the people need to decide your own position, what to do in this if you will continue to continue the shipping industry. So that which sector, the answer should be different based on the sector or area or countries, etc. So that we need to carefully think about our own strategy and our own focus area. Then cannot avoid that decision-making process, and it shouldn't be too early, but definitely shouldn't be too late.
Here's more on the environment and the business of the ocean. As drought continues to plague the Panama Canal, when it's supposed to be the rainy season, a reservation to transit the waterway has sold for a record of nearly $4 million at auction. The Panama Canal Authority is restricting transits through the waterway, and now it's closed its doors to vessels without a prior booking, leading one agency to stop tracking waiting times altogether. In the hunt for zero-emission ways to propel ships, what about the ocean itself? My colleague Gary Dixon reports that scientists in the UK are developing a device to maximize wave power for vessels. Liang Yang, a lecturer in marine renewable energy systems at Cranfield University, explained that it's been known for years that ocean waves can partly or wholly propel ships with a specially adapted hydrofoil. Read these stories and more at TradeWindsNews.com. Another energy company is turning up its nose at the U.S. offshore wind sector as it faces supply chain woes and high costs. Recharge reports that Enbridge chief executive Greg Ebel says the sector is not attractive compared to Europe. Read about it at rechargenews.com. Music for this episode is by Crystal Squad on Toontank.